and not having governance and controls in place is a non-starter. Nothing is going to work. Hello everybody and welcome to Chatting Transformation, the Change and Transformation podcast designed to make your change and transformation journey that little bit easier. I'm Barry and I've been in change and transformation now for around about 20 years, and I want to use this podcast to pass on my experience, my opinions, the lessons that I've identified and learnt, so that hopefully at least one person out there can take them and use them to make their change and transformation journey that little bit easier. Now, what we're going to talk about over the next week is a subject that I deal with a lot when I'm supporting clients with change and transformation activity, and that is governance and controls. Now, what do we mean by governance and controls? Well, when we set out to deliver a change or transformation initiative, be it through waterfall or through agile methodologies, we need to adopt procedures, structures and other ways of working that support us to deliver the ultimate outcome. For me, there's 4 key areas of governance and control that need to be in place for the programme to be successful. So the first is planning. Planning identifies the activities from the highest level down to the most detailed aspects that ultimately come together to deliver the end result of the initiative. We need to understand the relationships between these activities and then schedule them in a logical flow so as to understand what needs doing when in order to deliver the initiative's intended outcome. The second area of governance and control that is critical to me is risks, assumptions, issues and dependencies, which are more commonly known as RAID or RAIDs. And RAIDs are categories of things that could impact on the delivery of the plan and therefore need to be managed as the plan is executed. Risks and issues cover the impact of unplanned and unforeseen events on the plan and gives you a mechanism for how to identify them, understand them and plan for them accordingly. Assumptions cover those things that you have to include as part of planning at the start, but you maybe don't have enough information about, and therefore as the plan progresses you need to revise and validate those assumptions. And then the last one, dependencies, that covers the critical relationships within the plan between the various what we call milestones or activities, and understands how they come together, and if the plan for whatever reason was to get out of sync, understand the impact that way. So RAIDs. Third one is finance, the budgets and money associated with delivering the initiative. Now at the start, the plan is fully costed and represented as a number of detailed forecasts, and then as the initiative continues and we progress with the plan, actual costs are captured and compared against the forecast so we understand if we're on budget, if we're overspent, if we're underspent, all of that good stuff. And then the final one is reporting and decision making. With decision making, what I'm referring to is a structure of meetings, so working groups, boards, etc., that provide the forum for making and recording decisions pertaining to the delivery of the initiative. With reporting, we're covering the collating of the required information upon which the decision is to be made, quality assuring it and presenting it within that decision-making forum. Ultimately, reporting is going to then feed into the higher level progress and strategic reporting requirements in the organisation. All 4 of these controls and governance aspects, so planning, RAIDs, finance, reporting and decision making, they're symbiotic in that they rely on each other and they're dependent on each other and they work together to progress the initiative. And over the remainder of the week, what I'm going to do is a deep dive into each of the 4, talk about how they work both individually and then how they rely on each other. Now, no one ever really gets excited, other than me, no one gets excited about governance and controls. many people have had really bad experiences, and that comes down to kind of two things that have happened. Either they've worked in a program where governance and controls has been overly bureaucratic, it's been a total nightmare, it's over-engineered, and actually impacts on the ability to get the job done to the point where the governance and controls is what people spend most of their time doing, and actually then don't have sufficient time to deliver the program. The second is that governance and controls are so poorly designed and implemented that they don't work. People give them a stiff ignoring, and often what that ends up with is people firefighting anything that impacts the delivery of the initiative, because that's better than trying to follow the rules that are in place, and that just becomes total chaos. So either it's horrendously bureaucratic and there's no flexibility and no room to actually deliver, or it's total chaos, there's nothing there and everyone's running around with their heads on fire. Whenever I work with a client, whether I'm helping them to design an initiative, set it up, go in and undertake a health check review of their initiative as a kind of a first line assurance, I always want to introduce the concept of value add governance and controls. We need to find the sweet spot for doing enough governance and controls to make a difference and bring value to the program, but without asking anyone in the program to do any more than what is required. That's the sweet spot. Now, the test for understanding if you've got the sweet spot is anyone with the responsibility for ensuring the governance and controls are being applied correctly. So I'm thinking program manager, PMO, staff, SRO to an extent, should be able to explain accurately, with brevity and clarity, why any aspect of the controls that they're asking to be implemented is how it works, why it's required, and how the program benefits. And if you can't explain that, if somebody asks and says, why do I need to do this way? If you can't turn around and go, it's required because of this, this is how we do it, and this is ultimately why we do it and what benefit it brings, then you need to review that element of governance and controls, because it's clearly not adding value. If you can't explain it and you're asking people to do it, they're not going to do it. So finding the sweet spot is something I work on a lot with my clients, and it depends on a whole host of things, and it's really specific down to the individual initiative that the client has in place, and there's a whole host of factors that come into it. So there could be the size of the initiative, the size of the organisation, the nature of the initiative and the nature of the organisation, the culture within the organisation or the sector that the organisation operates in. These all have massive impacts. Regulatory impacts. So is there a regulator involved? Is there oversight that you need to be aware of? The maturity of the initiative as well. So you could have something that's fairly immature, and at which point governance and controls need to reflect that and then act and mature in line with the program or the initiative. And then finally, there's the delivery capability of the organisation. You just might not have the people or the capability in there to actually understand governance controls and apply them accordingly. So that, and that's just a few of the factors that will impact upon finding that sweet spot. But it's something that will take a little bit of time. It's not an algorithm you can do at the start that goes bang, that's the sweet spot. It's going to take a little bit of design, test and adjust as you go, but you do need to work on finding it. And if you find it, you will notice how everybody gets behind the governance and controls, because they realise that instead of them working for the governance and controls monster, governance and controls is working for them and helping them to do their job by supporting them with the right information, the right tools, processes, etc. So if you get the sweet spot right, you'll find that naturally everyone falls in behind it and is a fan of it. So as I said, over the next few episodes I'm going to talk through my experience against each of the four, so planning, raids, finance, decision making and reporting, and I'll talk about them in a bit more detail, explaining what they are, how they work, and how with each one I've helped my clients to find their sweet spot and what worked for them. And I've had lots of different clients, so there's lots of different case studies that we can delve into. We'll also talk about how plan needs RAID, needs finance, needs governance and reporting, needs plan, etc. So that we understand those dependencies and that symbiotic relationship between the four. But for now, that's all. Thank you. I hope you're looking forward to Governance and Controls Week. Probably not as much as I am, because I am a governance and controls nerd. But for now, thank you all. If you are watching this video on our YouTube channel, please do like the video and please do hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much.